We're live. Okay, I'd like to call this meeting of the MCPS School Board to order. It's Tuesday, the 22nd of June, and this is a special meeting to interview our new candidate for the open position High School Trustee District C. So I guess Rob is going to give an introduction a little bit there.
Yeah, so thank you, Chair Lorenzen. Just a reminder to the board, we have two open seats, one serving the Hellgate Elementary District, and the other one serves Target Range and Bonner. We had candidate for the elementary seat, for the high school seat for Hellgate Elementary. That's the one that we're interviewing tonight. We have no candidates yet for the Target Range Bonner open seat. And I'll talk a little bit more about that process in my superintendent announcements tonight. But would like to welcome Mike Gale, who will be talking tonight as the applicant for the Hellgate Elementary open seat.
So Mike, you've provided us with a letter, which is very nice. And then in addition, we have two well, there's two written questions. I guess that's in your letter. Then we have two questions that we call in person that we are going to ask you. Do you want to start with an introduction and then we'll go to the to the questions?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. First of all, thank you for the time for letting me in. First of all, can everybody hear me okay? Okay. And I'm on my laptop in a motel room, so I can see everybody on there, but you're small little blips. So I can't quite see if if you're acknowledging me or not. So I appreciate the time, and also I appreciate being able to remotely access. I'm working out of Billings this week, so being able to do this way without having to modify my schedule, I appreciate the considerations there. So just to tell you a little bit about myself, I have two boys. They're both in the Hellgate Elementary School, 13 and 11. So not this year, but next year, my oldest will be entering into the high school program. And when I saw about this was kind of what spurred my interest, because before I retired from law enforcement, my schedule dictated my wife has always kind of run the kids, and I haven't been able to be much involved in many of their activities and things because of my scheduling and being out of town. So as now that in my new career, I'm looking forward to being able to spend more time and being more involved with their education and being more involved with them in general. So that's kind of what spurred the moment here. And it was kind of a fluke. I noticed on the website that you were looking for an applicant in my area where I was from, specifically into the high school system. So that's kind of what got my curiosity going from there, and which led me to speak with you here tonight. So a little bit about myself. I am retired law enforcement. I currently work for a nonprofit. I do safety and consulting for Motor Carriers of Montana. We specifically work just for the trucking industry in matters of health and safety for employees and matters of Department of Transportation, Federal Motor Carrier safety regulations.
All right, thank you. I guess we'll just go ahead with the first question. We try to, although there is only one candidate, we want to be formal about this. Liliana, do you want to read that first question?
Hi, Mike. What skills and abilities, including any prior board experience, do you have that would serve you in the district well in your service as a school board trustee?
Okay. And first of all, I appreciate you providing me the questions there. It gives me a little time to meditate a little bit on them and get some thought into the answers. So my training in law enforcement, you want to call it old school, but that is basically to generate voluntary compliance. In other words, you want to compromise and to come up with a feasible resolution. Upon those lines, I was very involved in the union while in law enforcement, actually being elected president. I entered into two separate contract negotiations where I was actually writing and doing the mediating for all the labor contracts. In addition to that, I've worked specifically as the mediator in labor disputes and things of that nature. So I was always kind of the one that go to kind of mediate things and come up with basically conflict resolution. And I think we were always very successful in the contracts we negotiated and times when I was able to help out other employees and coming up with a resolution when there was something that came before the union. I was always very successful in those manners.
Thank you. Just a sec. Okay. I wonder if Grace could read the second question?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So, Mike, the second question is, what is your understanding of your role as an individual trustee where you're part of an 11-member board?
Well, kind of going back to my current situation, as far as the board is concerned, I actually work for a 17-member board right now with motor carriers. So it's a very unique circumstance because you have a lot of different opinions and a lot of different directions that things go, especially when you have a board of that size. So a lot of it is just, Rob, you're sitting there shaking your head. I can see you on the, I can see where that, because everybody's got a different opinion, and a lot of times it's coming down and hashing out different opinions and coming up with a resolution that's going to work for everybody. I've got a little bit of experience in that regards there. As far as this goes, I'm kind of learning a little bit about it on the fly here. My understanding is the position is I'm specifically just in regards to the high school itself. I wouldn't have any kind of voting, so please correct me if I'm wrong on that. It's kind of a different circumstance because my area doesn't really respond to the Missoula County schools as far as the elementary and the middle school, but
I will answer that. So we welcome input from all the board members on all issues, and educationally, we're pretty integrated. The only place that the difference in the two boards comes up primarily is in questions of property, pieces of property that belong to the elementary district, because it used to be a separate district. And then questions of budget, we just end up voting twice, but we welcome all participation on all issues from everybody.
okay, thank you for the clarification there. So, yeah, so like I said, some of this is kind of learning on the fly a little bit how this goes. But I think that to get back to the nuts and bolts of the question is how does that respond? The board relationship, it's a lot of it is just the communicating and working out the differences and coming up with a resolution.
Okay, thank you. I guess that's the formal part of the interview. The one question I think it was written to you is, would you consider running again when this position is up for election next May?
Yes, and absolutely. I guess my involvement is, I'm not looking to continue this past when my kids are involved in school, but I have every intention, if I get placed on the board is, to seek election, if that, and then continue the position while my kids are involved in the school program. After that point, my involvement, maybe I might like it and want to stay. I mean, we can cross that bridge, but right now my goal is not to stay beyond when my youngest would graduate from high school.
Okay, thanks for that, and I think that concludes agenda item 3. So now we're into agenda item 4, which is trustee discussion and decision. We do have a quorum of the board here, so we can make this decision tonight. Are there any trustees that would like to open the discussion? All right, come on. Go ahead, Cohen.
I just appreciate his willingness to serve and look forward to having him.
Okay, anybody else?
Thank you.
Oh, Grace?
I would echo that. I also appreciate that. I think that the background of this candidate and kind of professional interests are not already heavily represented on the board. This is a different sort of perspective to be bringing, and that's always something that's valuable in a sort of community board like this. And I also appreciate that I haven't heard anything that would indicate like an issue. You know, I'm not, I think people who think about joining the board because they have a particular issue sometimes find that an incredibly frustrating situation to be in, actually. So that's always really nice to hear that it's about sort of service and your kids and that sort of thing.
Thanks. Anybody else want to chime in? Okay, and I really welcome your application. I think you're a good fit for our community, and particularly that's a very important part of town. Hellgate Elementary is a big part of Big Sky High School. So appreciate your willingness to step up. Trustees, I would entertain a motion. Go on.
I'm doing it just because he's former law enforcement, so I feel I should be
There you go.
welcoming. I move to, appoint him?
So trustee Mercer has moved to appoint Mike Gill to the open position on the District C position on the board. Is there a second? A second from Vicki McDonald. Any board discussion on the motion? And seeing none, all trustees in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Sorry? Oh, I'm sorry. Is there any public comment on this item? Okay, seeing no public comment, all trustees in favor of the motion, please signify by raising your hand. That's unanimous as to all trustees present. Welcome aboard, Mr. Gale.
Thank you.
And I hope you plan to stay with us for the meeting that follows.
Sure, you don't mind if I'm just going to kind of go on mute here, so, but I do appreciate, thank you very much. I appreciate your confidence.
Well, actually, yeah, Pat McHugh needs to issue a certificate of appointment. Can you explain where we stand on that, Pat?
You bet, thank you. So, as mentioned earlier, the district election was scheduled for May 4th, and following the deadline for candidates to file, there were no applicants for the school trustee seat in District B or C. Tonight, Michael Gale was appointed to the high school trustee seat District C, Hellgate Elementary boundary. The certificate of election must be issued to the appointed trustee designating the term of the trustee position. That's per state law. The term for this position is until the next regular school election, which is May 3rd, 2022. To assume the trustee position, Mr. Gale must be qualified. To be qualified requires that he take the oath of office, and the oath of office must be administered within 15 days of the appointment and the issuance of the certificate of appointment. And so tonight I'll administer the oath of office. First, the certificate of appointment states that this is to certify that on the 22nd day of June 2021, Michael Gale was appointed to fill the office of Missoula County Public Schools High School District Trustee District C seat until the next regular school election of said district in accordance with MCA 20-3-309. So, Mr. Gale, if you would stand and raise your right hand. I think you can hear me, and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Montana,
and the Constitution of the State of Montana,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
and I will discharge my, sorry, it cut out there, and
I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
I will discharge my duties with fidelity.
Thank you, Mr. Gale, and when you're back in town, you could stop by my office or we could stop by yours to get your signature. And welcome aboard.
Thank you.
And then the sixth item is the Conflict of Interest Code of Ethics. Were we going to do that in person, Pat?
We had talked about doing that with the full board with when Bea done her does her trustee onboarding.
Okay. Okay, well, that's our last agenda item except for public comment. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned, and we will reconvene at 6 o'clock for the regular board meeting. Thank you.